Oh,
okay?
hello. Hello, 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 Miss Judith.
Oh, Miss Judith. I have one lady that's in charge of the volunteers at the jail that calls me Miss Judith
Does she? I know you
because
like to be called Judith.
leg legally on all the forms there I signed Judith, and
Do
so
you?
that's why she
Mm.
calls me Miss Judith.
Miss Judith,
Miss Judith. I had a great thing happen today.
tell me.
I was told by the inmates that one of the former inmates was working in a certain fast food restaurant in Alabaster. And Alabaster's where I go to church. So our Sunday school class all went out to eat. And then on the way back, I said, Sonny, let's stop at this restaurant and let me see if the girl's there. I know she's in a rehab home and I wasn't sure they would work on Sunday.
Mm.
And I mealy mouthed, and then I said, well, no. And then Sonny just turned in. And so I walked in the door and I heard, Miss Judy, Miss Judy,
Oh,
Miss Judy. So
that's the
she was
best
there.
gift ever.
It's like I'll liken it as close as I can to what it must feel like with you grandmothers when your grandchildren call you by your pet name.
Yeah.
My heart is, and I was able to hug her for the first time. She
Oh,
came,
gosh.
able to hug her. It was
Oh,
great.
Judy,
It was
that's
great,
great.
and she's doing so good.
Mm. What
So
a blessing you weren't expecting.
I really didn't think she would be there today.
Oh, so great.
Miss Judy, Miss Judy, Miss
Oh,
Judy.
did you have a few minutes to talk to her?
Not very long because she had all her gear on and
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff, and I could tell the manager was very gracious in letting her come from her post to come in to me
Right.
and talk to me and everything. So it
Mm.
was, yeah, that's good.
Yeah, that's really, really good.
When I see, when I get to see one turn her life around, it's just unbelievable.
Yeah.
See God's hand in how He takes them from point A to
Mm.
B to C to D. It's fun.
Yes, it is. Good for you. I'm happy you had that experience. That's nice. You
Yeah,
need that in the middle because you have a lot of complications around your ministry there and a lot of restrictions, and you don't always get to see what happens to them after they leave. You don't know a
yeah,
lot, but
yeah.
it's really
That's why
great.
this is so good.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm, yeah, you will. Well, good for you. You. So we've been reading through the trilogy, The Singer. The Singer. We've been reading
Yeah.
through book one of a trilogy, The Singer, by Calvin Miller. And today we're starting on chapter 16. So where were we last time? Let's see. Let's just kind of give a recap. Oh, this is about him going. This was about Good Friday. Last one was about Good Friday. They make the procession, and he's just talking about the emptiness of the people in the crowd. Right.
Yes.
So everybody's celebrating the troubadour as he comes into the holy city. Everybody's
Right.
celebrating. That's where we ended. It said, even the centennials upon the walls raised their hands, threw their bearded faces to the sky, and cried out over all the world beneath them, Halana to the troubadour, Earthmaker's only son. And we know the tide's about to change.
Yes.
Changes fast. So that's where we left off. Okay.
Oh, are we
All right. Let
ready?
me put you on speaker view. then we'll be ready. There we go. Okay. Ready.
He's gonna do what he says, what he calls a syllogism here. And that's a form of reasoning in which you have a conclusion, in which a conclusion is drawn, whether it's valid or not, from two given or assumed propositions. So he gives a syllogism, and you have a major premise, a minor premise, and then a conclusion.
Okay.
Should have had this in an English class somewhere along the line. Major premise: God is a custom. Minor premise: a custom is an old habit. Conclusion: therefore, God is an old habit.
Interesting.
I think we might be there in the United States of America now.
Hey.
Although I watched before, on the night before the election, November the 4th, the night before the election, Hank Irwin put on a great prayer event. Great is more than that. Something great prayer block event. And he just had, did I already tell this before on this?
I don't think so.
So they just had prayer for the nation and the election on November the 4th, before the election on November 5th. Neither candidate's name was ever mentioned. That wasn't the emphasis. The emphasis was to pray for the United States of America. And he had a representative, or maybe more than one representative, from every state in the nation pray for the nation.
Wow.
It was started on the East Coast with Eastern time, then Central time, Mountain time. It was, and in Colorado, they had the representative there was Colorado Christian University was the one they contacted, and then they had young people praying. I mean, they would be like in their dorms praying. It encouraged me that there's more believers in the United States than we realize. And they went all the way from the East Coast to the West Coast. And in California, that church had a choir, had a praise group, had a young woman come out and read something she had written. It was phenomenal. And the sweet little lady from Hawaii, she just got me there.
Is she? What about it?
She was so humble, and so you could tell she walked with Jesus. It was unbelievable. It was unbelievable. It was really, really good. I went to high school and church with Hank Irwin in my day, and his boys are the Irwin boys who produced some of the great Christian movies. The last one was the Jesus Revolution that they produced. So again, I think they helped him coordinate all that. It was unbelievable. So even though we live in a time like this where people are trying to say, therefore God is an old habit, it ain't so. And we got bunches of people who don't believe that's so. So I'm encouraged with that.
Right. There's no snuffing him out.
Absolutely not. The gates of hell shall not
prevail against it.
That reminds me of David Wilkerson. I can't remember how he worded this, but he talked about how many Christians want to be safe in their Christianity. And he said, I want to put a tent at the gate of hell and stop people as they're going through. Like it.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
it.
Wow.
All
Okay,
right, we ready?
we're ready.
Singing and dancing swept the crowd in joyful madness till all the city gathered in the Plaza of Humanity, a colonnaded forum around the Shrine of Older Life. I'm assuming the Shrine of Older Life is the temple. That's all I can figure out. The Shrine of Older Life was attended by the keepers of the ancient ways. They were everyone gray bearded and wore the pointed hats and the custom of their ordered service at the shrine. Each sang the hymns of their tradition and kept with strict obedience the rituals of the ages. Since the holiday of hope had come and the grand musician was himself the chief director of the liturgy. That's a Jewish religious leader, this grand musician. Formality of the great high adoration was broken by the singing and dancing crowd that swept through the holy square. The singer went before them in a sea of warm approval till he stood beneath the towering shrine of Older Life. It glittered in the sun and lifted up its marble proclamation to the world. An acolyte of lower caste rang a brazen gong that brought the roaring crowd to silence. And only then did the grand musician rise to speak. See, this is all those people coming from the grand entrance, the triumphal entrance of Jesus.
Mhm.
And the grand musician said, what does this uproar mean? And a single voice rose from the crowd, from the sea of faces. We have found a long-awaited troubadour, and he knows the ancient star song. Yes, yes, cried the throng. He knows the ancient star song. He is the troubadour, the son of Earthmaker. The mere suggestion of the joyous prose began the cries of Halana. I looked that word up because we think of hallelujah.
Right.
That's what that is. And it means beautiful star or
Mm.
joyful noise.
Mm.
So they began the cries of Halana over and over. Once again, the gong restored a silence to the square, and a grand musician turned to the singer. Is this true? Are you the troubadour? Can you sing the ancient star song? I am he. I know the song. Then sing it now, agreed the keepers of the ancient ways. And the singer took his lyre and strummed the strings, and the chords fell outward over all the throng. And the audience grew still. And he sang the very words he first had sung before his mother. Above him towered the wall, and high upon the bulwark, he saw the framework of a strange machine. It was the great machine on which false singers met their death.
Mm.
He knew then what it meant to sing a new song. And then his finger swept the strings and he began the final verse. That's the end of chapter 16.
Wow. A thought occurred to me that when we talked about the part where he's saying what he had sung before to his mother, I just I just had a thought like, what if as a child, this is just speculation, Jesus did have songs or music that intrigued her that she had not taught him, that he had not learned somewhere. Music,
Yeah.
that just kind of came out.
Yeah.
I could kind of see him playing
He's
with a
been in
little,
heaven. He's been in heaven where angels sing
right,
and adore
right. I wonder if
God
he
the Father.
remembered any of that as a human or if that was blocked from him, but that would be interesting to think about Mary. What is that you're humming? Be like, oh,
That's
oh,
the
my
Father
father and I
song.
sung. I've never thought of that, but it's a possibility.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's cool. Okay, that was short, so we're moving into chapter 17. Unless you have something else you want to comment about that.
Nope.
Okay.
I'm just amazed at how the religious leaders just couldn't put it all together.
It's
They had all the facts too. They had all the facts of the Messiah coming, but they couldn't believe this guy, Carpenter's son, was the one, and he didn't come with armor on and a sword, and he's going to defeat the Roman army and all.
he's always opposite world. He's always opposite what we think.
That's very true.
It's
Even
very
for us, the same thing for us.
absolutely because I can tell you, I can list names, countless names of people. Well, I coach them all the time who know the Bible, have been in church all their life, and yet still grapple, struggle with the idea that God even loves them. It's like right in front of them that he wants an intimate relationship with them. It's like right, I see Jesus right in front of many Christians and they miss him. And I think and this is a little bit of a diversion, but I think a large part is because how we've shared the gospel, which you talked about one of the Irwin brothers saying, or somebody saying they pitch a tent right before hell. That has been the focus of the gospel in the Bible Belt that we've known. You've got to get them saved. You got to get them saved because the biggest thing is get them out of hell. Get people,
Yeah.
keep people. That was the gospel. That was the thing of evangelism explosion. It was never about let's move into a restored relationship with our Creator,
Yeah.
right? And so that mentality is really hard to draw out. It's still going strong because even in an organization I was in, it was all about counting numbers. How many professed faith today? How many raised their hands today? How many did this? It's like, no, that means nothing. And I think we've talked about this a little bit in the past. I think we have a lot of premature Christian babies, really. And
We're overrun with it. We're overrun with it.
yeah, so it's mind blowing that people can be in the Word and really have a heart to know it, to know God, and still miss Him. That really disturbs me a bit. I don't always get it, but
What can we do?
oh,
Ultimately it's their decision, right?
yeah. And Revelation, we talk about that. This Holy Spirit's involvement of he's the one that opens our eyes, and he's the one that gives us understanding of the Word, right? And it was always saying, "He who has ears to hear, let him hear." I don't know what that means, but it has to mean something here, right? Does he give you the ears to hear?
Oh, absolutely. I do believe he does. We just don't take them and use them, I think. It's when you're saying this, I'm thinking of walking into a cell block and trying to teach people about falling in love with Jesus, surrendering to Jesus, and getting help for whatever has them
Right.
in its clinches. And I've said so many times in there, I just want to walk up to that concrete wall and beat my head against the wall, you
Right.
know? And I've told them that, and I know they think this woman is nuts, and I really am, but it's so frustrating. Oh, and I tell them I wish I had a magic wand. I could just wave it over this cell block, and all of a sudden you'd get it, and you'd understand, and your heart would turn. But
Yeah.
I don't have that ability. I just present and present and present and love and love and
I don't understand it. I do believe that the Spirit of God is who illuminates us.
absolutely.
And so
Absolutely.
if you think that way, then it's like, does he try to do that with everyone? Does he illuminate or I don't know. But I'm just glad for the illumination that I've had. I've had a lot of what I thought was illumination that wasn't.
Right,
And I've been kind of sorting through a lot of that in my adult life.
right,
Right.
right,
But
right.
still the nucleus of it. When I wrote that curriculum, that really radically helped me change my perspective on a lot of the gospel and what it was really about. Right.
I guess that's what that was. That was the purpose of that.
It's completely changed the trajectory of my life and my relationship with God and how I coach people and everything. Right. I can't stick a card in my back pocket and smugly say, okay, well, I've got 25 people or 100 people out of the grips of hell. Like that they've raised their hand at some event or they've gone forward or done something. Because to me, that means nothing. I mean,
I don't know.
I don't like the concept of hell. I don't understand it. It feels very brutal. And I do know that that is part of the package. It's just not the package.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah, I like the way I just said that.
Well,
Something
you
comes
got
out,
it.
you're like, hey, that's right. That's true.
You got it recorded, so now you can.
I can say, if anybody uses it, that's credit me. Now I've already forgotten what I said, but I had a conversation with my daughter the other day. We were talking about some of the performance-based Christianity that we were in and all that, just working through it. And I think, and this just came out of my mouth. This is like one of those things that comes out of your mouth. You're like, whoa. I said, well, I really don't think holiness is an invitation. We are invited to holiness, but we are not demanded to be holy. It's like it's an invitation. It's not a demand. It's a choice. It's an option for us, but it's an invitation. And it feels so much more because in the performance-based where you have to do and you have to be in order to receive God's approval, it really makes people want to give up. And I think that's a large part of why a lot of people have left the church. It just can't.
It wears you out.
It's exhausting.
It wears you out.
Right. But holiness has been presented as a string of behavior modifications. That if you do these things, this makes you a good person, and yet the heart's not changed. You can do all those things and look like the most wonderful Christian, and the heart's not changed. And what have we got? That verse, it says, some will get in as if by fire. You know what I'm talking about?
It's in
That's what
Jude,
I
the book
think.
of Jude. The book of Jude.
I think that's kind of what this is. These they got their ticket punched to heaven, and they get there, but they never really knew God in an intimate way. It wasn't a growing, living life together with God. It was just, which people think they are doing because they go to church, they give their money, they participate, they serve in the nursery, they do this and they do that. But even Paul said, I count all of that as dung, right, for the sake of knowing him. And so, yeah, it's kind of sad. We're getting on one of my little soapboxes. Let's keep reading.
Sure.
Yeah, sure.